Hey everyone, I'm Rin from Rindar Gaming, and today we're going to go over 5 things to help you tank King's Rest. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that sub button for more tank tip videos. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is the pull path. Skips are pretty difficult in this dungeon without a rogue, so make sure to skip the larger mobs that are right there at the front of the instance. You're going to want to hug the left wall and engage the minions of Zool, either using an arcane torrent off of a blood elf or some way of putting those ads down very quickly, and then moving on and killing off the other two. If you do have a rogue, you should shroud all of this trash. You could also opt to use invis potions or something else here. This is one of the only really effective skips you can make. There's a couple of them that you can make right towards the end of the instance, but without a combination of like a rogue stealth or a pot, it becomes very, very difficult. For your second tip, we're going to talk about the witch doctor. So once you get into that first boss room, you walk onto the platform, you pop the thing, and it summons all the trash in. Some of those ads are called witch doctors, and they have a shadow bolt volley cast. This cast can be very, very detrimental, especially on higher keys, as it does a large amount of shadow damage to all players in the party. So you're going to want to make sure all these get interrupted by either setting up an interrupt rotation, or if everybody has the interrupt weakor on the bars, you can kind of see, or on their screens, you can see and track those, and that makes it pretty simple. But make sure to keep these locked down. They do a ton of damage, and on weeks like Grievous, can be absolutely a wipe if one gets off. Okay, for our next tip, we're going to talk about the Blob Pool. This is actually one of my favorite pulls in any dungeon in BFA. This one specific pull is a lot of fun. If you get it right, DPS can go absolutely wild. It takes a little bit of coordination, a little bit of finesse, and it's really, really fun to do. So what you're going to want to do is keep everybody back up the steps walking into the second boss's chamber. You need to kill off that big ad before that chamber, right? Walk down there. Have everybody else stay up towards the top of the steps. You're going to want to then use movement speed increases or a sky step potion or a speed increase potion and body pull all of the blobs in that room. Make sure you miss the intermittent constructs or interment constructs, excuse me. You do not want those guys pulled in with this. You just want all of the blobs. Now, once you get those body pulled, you're going to want to make your way back towards the steps. And it's kind of at this point that you need to do a couple of things very, very quickly. You need to establish threat. So using some form of large AoE cooldown just to make sure that everything is really, really mad at you and not looking towards your healers. And you need to get a slow or something on these ads to where you can start running. Because if you stand there, you're going to die. They're going to do a lot of damage to you very, very quickly. So this is all about the kite. So I do this on my DK a lot, right? So as an example, I would run through all of that. I would go back, Gorfine's Grasp, double Blood Boil to give me a bunch of threat, and then drop a Death and Decay to slow them. I think Pallies have a slow on Consecrate. You can have Hunters use Tar Traps. There's a ton of options here on how to slow these ads, but you need to make sure you do that. Okay, and then you're just going to want to run all the way back up that stairs, kind of slowly renewing whatever slows you've got as they come off a cooldown. Make sure you're staggering them out really nicely. And if you need to go back in there and reestablish a little bit of threat, do so. Don't let those things just start going ham. It's a lot of fun. Do a lot of damage. It's a really good time. One thing I want to mention, don't do this on explosive week. Okay, just don't. It's actually terrible. Death. Don't do it. Bowstring weeks, I've seen these things have upwards of like 2 or 3 million health, which just makes them really, really nasty. So if you want to do it on bowstring week, it can be done. Your DPS just need to be very, very good about making sure they're always attacking the mob with the most health. So it is possible. Just be cautious and have fun with it. It's a really, really cool pull. Alright, for the next tip, we're going to talk about Berserkers. So once you get done with that second boss, you're going to kind of make your way up the stairs, right? And you come to that really, really long hallway that is most of the last little bit of trash. Not a little bit of trash, it's a lot of trash. Like, it's an obsessive amount of trash. Why is there so much trash, Blizz? I don't know. You're going to pull that. One of the biggest ads to watch out for, not the biggest ad, the Brute's the biggest ad, right? He's freaking huge, you can't miss him. One of the worst ads to watch out for is the Berserkers. Okay, these guys are going to give you a stacking bleed that is actually nasty. 3 stacks will probably kill you off. So if you can, it's not bolstering or some other crazy stuff, try and make sure that you're focusing these ads down. If that's going to be a problem, then you're going to want to use some kind of CC, be it Ice Trap, Hex, what have you. DKs can control undead, and then they do a bunch of damage for you. It's really, really cool. Lots of options for CC here. Just give these ads some caution. Don't pull a big brute in with them. Don't mass pull with them. Because if they're up for a long time, that bleed's going to stack up and you're going to die. And it's not a lot of fun. So avoid that. Okay, so your 5th tip is actually going to be just the bosses, right? Like we usually do. But I've got a little bonus tip for you. So we're going to call this tip 4.5. The little Minion of Zool guys, right? On like a bolstering week. Cool story. They bolster other ads. So on that second, or the first boss room, as you've got those little minions padding around all the 4 different trash packs in there, you're going to want to make sure that you taunt one of those trash packs off to the back, right? Kind of to the platform where you started the fight, kill them off up there, and then make sure that you kill those blobs off by themselves. Have a Belfort out there in Arcane Torrent, aggro them to you, and kill them off that way. However you do it, however, you know, you do you. Don't kill those with the rest of the trash on a bolstering week, because it's going to get terrible. You're gonna create raid bosses, and you don't want to do that. So that's tip 4.5. Okay. For tip 5, we're gonna go through these bosses now. So the first boss is the Golden Serpent. You're gonna hold the boss near one of the bridges, kind of back to where you walked across to go up and start the encounter. And the boss is gonna cast a spit gold onto a player, and that player will need to move up onto the platform where the little spinning wheel was. And he's going to drop a pool. That pool is later going to turn into an ad. That ad needs to be either rooted, CC'd, or killed. They did nerf the health of them quite a while back, so they're pretty easy to kill now. Just make sure that you're always stacking the spits on top of the pools to keep the ads grouped up when they do spawn. You don't want them scattered everywhere for a couple of reasons. The big one being, if the ad makes it to the boss, it's going to give him a huge absorb shield, right? Effectively heals the boss. So you need them all to be kind of up in one place, because if worst case happens, you can kite them around the middle of the room. There's that big obstacle there, and you can just pull the boss around the room, and that way the blobs never catch up with them, and then your DPS can just kill them off, because like one Demon Hunter I-Beam can finish all of those. They don't have a lot of life. So make sure you're watching for that. Make sure you're moving the boss. And then just get out of his big tornado thing. He does some physical damage. Use, mitigate. It's fine. You're a tank. You'll be fine. Okay. Second boss is Mishima the Embalmer. For this boss, move out of fire. It is hot. And help break people out of coffins when they get trapped. They should get thrown in there. They get an extra action button. Or they press the 1 button. Right? Shakes the coffin. Go. Click the coffin. They pop out. Yeah. That's about it. Lost on the pole. Win. Easy boss fight. For the third boss, this is something. This boss is a lot. There's 3 different bosses for this council fight, okay? They could pop out in a random order, and let's kind of go through all of them, right? So the first one is Kula the Butcher. She spawns axes very, very regularly. Now, what you're going to do is hold the boss right in the middle of the room. When those axes spawn, move away from the animation, right? It's a little tornado looking animation. Get out of it. Once those axes pop out and they start spinning, the center of the room is going to open back up, and you're going to want to move you and the boss back into that middle of that room. That keeps the axes on a very, very set pattern going around the room, so your range can continue to avoid them. And it makes everything a little bit easier to kind of manage. The second one is Aka Ali the Conqueror. Now, let's just take a moment to say, I hate this boss. I absolutely hate this boss. He has 2 abilities. The first one is Barrel Through, where he focuses a target and runs to that target. He deals decreased damage for each player that he passes through. So whoever gets focused moves out, everybody else gets between that player and the boss, mitigates the damage, nobody dies. Easy. The other ability, and this is the one that's actually terrible, is the debilitating backhand. He's going to smack the shit out of you. He's going to knock you back. If you get knocked off one of the ledges, you can't actually get res, so it's actually just a wipe. And after he smacks you, he's going to chase you down. Now you're taking 200% increased physical damage at this point, so all you can do is just run. Just run. Just run. And this is why I hate this boss, because I'm a DK main, and running isn't really an option. It's more like a really cool looking RP walk. So I've got to pop sky steps or move what Blizzard likes to call a movement speed increase for us. And yeah, it's actually terrible. Alright, the third one is Zanazal the Wise. You're going to want to interrupt the poison belt. That is your job as the tank. You should be watching it at all times, and you can get every one of them. So don't let that go off. It'll wipe the raid, or a group raid party. It's a bad idea. The other thing is, when he spawns up totems, kill the explosive totems as soon as it spawns. As soon as that one's dead, kill off the others. You can help with the totems as a tank. You don't have to sit there like a bump on a log. You can go over there and throw some damage on them. Just make sure you're watching that poison bolt. Again, your job. Don't mess it up. Lastly, when one of those three bosses die, right, they will continue to do an ability on a regular timer for the rest of the encounter. So if you get Kula the Butcher, first off, for example, for the rest of the fight on a set timer, axes are going to spawn in the middle of the room. Not going to be nearly as regular, right, but they are going to pop up there. Or a Call of the Conqueror will pop out and he'll do his barrel through mechanic. Luckily, no debilitating backhand, right? And Zanazal the Wise will continue to try and get that poison bolt off. Or Poison Nova. It's actually Poison Nova. So make sure you're watching out for those mechanics throughout the rest of the fight as well. Okay, for the last boss, Czar the First King. For this guy, hold lust until the second ad pops up, so do not lust the pull. And pull the boss way off to the right when you walk in. You're actually gonna want to go probably not quite a 3/4 of the way around the, or a third of the way around the room, but kind of over that way to your right. You're going to see a little jut in the floor, and you want to kind of stand at that. That's going to make phase 3 much, much easier, okay? We'll talk about that in a second. So for phase 1, you're going to just fight him. He's got a couple of abilities that you need to watch out for. The Gale Slash will spawn a little tornado that circles the room, does some damage. And for his blade combo, it's fairly straightforward, but you might need to pop cooldowns for it because he hits pretty hard. When the first ad spawns out, just make sure that it, some stuns work, like grip works. Like if he jumps out to go rend somebody and you grip him in, it'll break that cast. It's really cool. Not all stuns work. So do what you can. If you can't do anything, just kill it off. It's fine. For the second ad that pops out, he's going to jump up on him. This one's kind of like the same thing. This is when you're going to want to pop that lust, kill that ad off, and then it goes to just the boss. He starts his phase 3 stuff once that ad dies. And this is where there's going to be big things dropping on the floor. There's 2 different cycles that it can go through. One of them will create, like, you break the whole room up into a pizza, and like every other slice essentially gets hit by a mechanic, and you just kind of stand in the clean slices. Don't stand in the dirty slices. Nobody wants a dirty slice. And the other one, it just kind of starts at one point and walks around the room. Now, if you positioned him correctly, you can stand just on the other side of where that starts to move around the room, and basically you get like a ton of time while that mechanic's going off to just stand there and kill the boss. If you're doing it correctly, this should be all the time you need to kill it off before it actually makes it back around, unless you're on like a high key, he's got like a boatload of health, but you should be good, should have plenty of time. So avoid mechanics, cooldowns for the blade combo, and when the ads spawn, kill them. 1 second ad. GG. But that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, post them in the comment section below. Ask me on Twitter or on my live stream. Links will all be in the description below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that sub button, guys. It does help out a lot. But until next time, later, y'all.